we are closer to strengthening multilateralism for more just and democratic world order. We are closer because BRICS itself, it has turned to such a vehicle of taking all nations of the majority of Global South or the entire Global South and pushing it towards the center, to the bigger table of the world. Because if you realize, majority of the nations of the Global South were those that were left outside main global system, be it developmental system, be it the systems of financial systems, or the systems of just distribution or cohesion of the world coming together towards one form of development. And why is BRICS important as well? Especially in this theme of strengthening multilateralism for a more democratic world order, it is the fact that it is also, or its principles do not diverge from the main sustainable developmental goals of the United Nations for 2030 vision. So all its principles go parallel within the United Nations Charter. So we can state that, and this also was put in place by South African President Ramaphosa when he spoke about strengthening multilateralism towards just development and security. So we can say in a way that the theme of this declaration borrows or similarities with South African ethos towards security. But let us stress one thing: when South Africa mentions security, it's not on the issue, let's look out for enemies. It's on the issue that let's put forth efforts towards peace, be it the case of Palestine, which BRICS mentioned, be it the case of Israel, which BRICS mentioned also, and all other those hotspots in the world. What South Africa aspires to, which BRICS also in its declaration has gone to a greater extent expressing, is the issue of finding solutions for peace rather than going to war. So we should read the issue of security from that perspective.
What the practical kind of actions that BRICS countries need to engage in to meet the ideals that are embedded in that declaration?
The declaration, in terms of practical and tangible issues that I regard as things that can be immediately implemented or are already being implemented, because if you read the declaration, you'll find that many posts or many items, BRICS states, the declaration states that we reiterate. It means those projects are already in place. The implementation of some past resolutions from the Johannesburg second declaration, the BRICS last year, those things were already mentioned at the time. So most of the projects are already in this thing, in happening, or they're already being implemented. For example, let's talk about climate change. They say we reiterate principles of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, for example. It's Kyoto Protocol, Paris Agreement, and principles, this is very important, principles of equity, common but differentiated responsibilities according to respective capabilities of each and every nation. I think all that meandering, it's saying just. We cannot interpret Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement as an umbrella issue. It has to be implemented according to ideal conditions for that specific country. We mentioned this in the last interview also when we were talking about the energy just transition. That energy just transition, it shouldn't be an umbrella because it can disadvantage some nations which are at the initial stages of industrialization, as the majority of the global south nations are still at that stage. We might also negatively impact some nations that are still leapfrogging, leveraging on these new technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. The argument of BRICS is, because BRICS also is hedging one thing, there's one issue that is coming up, as BRICS is growing and becoming stronger. So there's a reaction from powers that be, or traditional powers that be it financial institutes, be it climate change bodies, be it some of the United Nations lobbyists who had their own national agendas. So they look at BRICS as threatening their hegemon or their line of command, so to speak, because BRICS is a new kid in the block. BRICS is a new kid in the block, so we're talking about a decade. And all these other institutions, they stem maybe from, the United Nations itself is from 1948, coming on, and all these other institutions that have been formed within the United Nations Charter. There's nothing wrong with that. But what BRICS is pushing forth now is that we were not involved as the Global South, or we were not taken into consideration. So what is happening now is that BRICS is collecting all these tools, all the instruments, and good performances, pockets of good performances. We spoke about clean rivers, we spoke about saving the lions, the Indian the Indian project. So all of those things are being put together. And even in the systems of financing, all of those good projects are being put together and galvanizing a new ethos that is going to be more inclusive and more just in distribution of what? Of public goods. That's all BRICS that is asking for. And sustainable development, which also falls or runs parallel with the SDGs of the United Nations.
What is it that BRICS is offering the world, or offering BRICS countries, that defines BRICS as a real kind of alternative?
There are 2 points that are take-home points for me from the current BRICS Summit. The first one is BRICS dialogue. Remember, I already stated that these are early days. If we talk of real BRICS, it's only a decade, and BRICS is still expanding. So the first one is BRICS dialogues towards cooperation for global and regional stability and security. Inclusive in that is sustainable development. And the ethos is, let us all do it together as a global South and take our rightful place in global issues. That's number one. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is fostering of economic financial cooperation for just global development. Now, these 2 points, according to me, is first is the building of BRICS itself. But whilst building BRICS, we are not going to wait for this powerful BRICS. We are going to be reforming already existing financial institutions in the world, whilst also building